Hey everyone, this is Srijit and I'm going to talk to you about FxCop and we'll have a screencast of how to run FxCop. So for those of you who are new to the term, FxCop is short for Framework Police and it's a static analysis tool to evaluate the code and check whether it's compliant to .NET Framework design guidelines. It's a great tool which helps in delivering high quality product to the customer. So as you can see on the screen, this is FxCop, and before moving on to the implementation, we'll just see the version that we use for FxCop. We'll use version 10.0, which is the latest one. You have lots of options available in FxCop. You have 3 panes totally. On the left you can see the target. So target basically displays the list of projects that you want to run your tool against. So when you import a particular project, it will be displayed here. You have the rules tab. The rules tab displays the list of rules, the list of default rules which will be available in FxCop, and on the right you can see the list of violations. You have lots of tabs in it. So active displays the list of active violations, and you can categorize some violation as excluded. If you don't want some violation to be displayed, we can just mark that as excluded. Then you have absent, which displays the list of absent violation, and you have at the bottom you have 2 tabs, output and properties. So properties displays the properties of a project or a violation. Output basically displays the output. So before moving on to the run, we'll just talk about the projects that we are going to use. The first one is SharpEdit. It's basically a text editor. It's an open source project. So we are going to run the code for SharpEdit in our tool. And the next one is Time Logger plugin. It's a plugin. It's an add-on to Visual Studio IDE. It was developed by me and my teammate Rohit. So it is used to record time for each task. We can add new tasks, and you can also view a report based on your time. So let's just run SharpEdit. So this icon that you see on the screen is for adding target to analysis. So when you click on it, we can just select the SharpEdit. So you can choose either DLL or exe file for your analysis. For right now I'm choosing exe, so that exe file will be displayed here. So when you click on it, you can see the properties for that project. So analyze button, when you click on that, FxCop just analyzes. So yes, you have a total of 60 violations raised here. You have lots of tabs on it, like you have level, which displays the level of criticality, and you have the category. We have either breaking or non-breaking. You have a percentage identifier which displays the certainty of this violation to occur. You have the rule, which displays the list of rules, rule name, and the item. It basically displays the location where this violation is thrown. So we'll talk about some of the rules here. Okay, choose a critical one. So this is a critical error. Certainty level is 95. So if you want to see the rule, details of the rule, you can just click on the rule details tab. So as you can see, the name states do not catch general exception types. So if you are very unsure about what it means, you can just move on to additional information. It will display the information that you need to know. So it says you should not catch exception or system exception. Catching generic exception types can hide runtime problems from the library user and can complicate debugging. You should catch only those exceptions that you can handle gracefully. So this rule is basically about catching specific exceptions. In SharpEdit open source tool, what they've done is they have a general exception handling. So whatever exception is thrown, it's handled by one particular block of code. So if you have number format exception or XML parsing exception, each and every exception type is just handled by a single exception block. So instead of that, you should probably have a specific exception type. For each exceptions raised, you should have a block which deals with it. So this violation is basically regarding that. You have lots of tabs where you can see additional information regarding that violation. So let's have another one. So let's see. Okay, the criticality level for this violation is 85. It's not critical, so it's an error. So as you can see, it's identifiers should be cased correctly. So it basically deals with the casing of identifiers in the open source tool. So type, namespace and member identifiers are Pascal case. Parameter identifiers are camel cased. Two-letter acronyms within these identifiers should be uppercased. So as you can see, they have given examples for Pascal cased and camel cased here. So when you have two-letter acronyms with the identifiers, it should be uppercase. So you have system.io. So they've given examples for this type, and acronyms of 3 or more letters should be Pascal cased. For example, they've given an example for this as well. So XML should be displayed like this. So Pascal casing convention capitalizes the first letter of each word. So back color should be cased like this. The camel casing conversion formats the first letter of the first word in lowercase and capitalizes the first letter of all the subsequent words. So background color, so the B is not capitalized and C is capitalized. So they've also given some messages like, although it may be common practice for some two-letter acronyms not be fully capitalized, violations of this rule should be excluded for this reason. For example, DB connection is common but incorrect. Use DB connection. Violation of this rule might be required for compatibility with existing. So it just displays the it displays all sorts of information that you need to know for a particular violation. So based on this, I mean, those who are new to the project, those who are new to development, they can actually see this and understand how to case your variables. So if you want to exclude this rule, you can just exclude it using this button exclude, and you can also scroll through the violations using these commands, next and previous. I'm just pressing next. Okay, so we'll use some other one. So avoid calling. Okay, this is a warning. So its certainty level is 75. So it states avoid uncalled private code. Okay, it seems that there is a code which is not even called. So there is an uncalled code that is not externally visible and is not known in runtime entry point. So before runtime, it's not violation. So you should probably have a prototype for that. So if this violation fires an error, please send a problem report. So this rule basically deals with some part of code which is not visible. So you can also exclude it using exclude button. And you have other parameters like remove unused parameters. So this is also a warning. So its certainty level is very high. So there are certain parameters which are unused. So it just displays the message here. So as you can see, there are lots of violations displayed. So you can go through each and every violation. You can see the details pertaining to it, and you can just go to the project. You can make changes regarding that. 60 violations is a lot. So, and as you can see, some of the violations are just repetitive. So you have remove unused locals. There are a lot of variables that are not removed. I mean, unused variables that are not removed. You have certain members which are not static. And suffix identifiers. So identify naming conventions is also displayed. So you have most of the rules pertaining to .NET Framework Design Guideline. So moving on, after SharpEdit, we have planned to run Time Logger plugin. So we've already discussed. So Time Logger plugin was developed as an add-on to Visual Studio IDE. It will help the developers keep track of the time taken for every task. So whenever you add a task, you can actually click on add task, and it starts recording the time taken for each task. So whenever you're done with the tool, you can just press close and it will generate an Excel file where you can see the report of your performance. So we'll run that tool. So that tool was developed by myself and my teammate Rohit. So we'll just delete this and build our time logger plugin. You can see time management, top level menu, importing top level menu. So this is displayed. So I'm clicking analyze and you have some missing libraries. I'm just going to a particular library and selecting that. Common assemblies version. Yep. And these you can just skip. Okay. There are certain missing libraries, but they're not critical. So you have the list of violations thrown for our plugin. So the number is somewhat low compared to SharpEdit. So you have mark members as static. Okay, we'll see this rule. So methods which do not access instant data or call instance methods can be marked as static. So after doing so, the compiler will emit non-virtual call sites to these members, which will prevent a check at runtime for each call that ensures that the current object pointer is non-null. This can result in measurable performance gain for the performance-sensitive code. In some cases, the failure to access the current object instance presents a correctness issue. So it's given a suggestion that some members which are not accessing data, so which need not access data, so they should be marked as static. So it's basically a warning level. It's just a suggestion that the FxCop is giving to our code. You can, as I already told you, you can exclude it if you don't want the rule to be displayed. And you have the do not catch general exception type, so we haven't handled specific exceptions for that. So once we deal with that, that's the most critical error displayed here. So once we deal with that, you can have messages displayed for each exception, so you can display that. And you have do not cast unnecessarily. You have two level warnings here. Avoid duplicate cast wherever possible, since there is a cost. Okay, so it just asks us to avoid duplicate task casts in our project. So this is a nice one. So it just displays test for empty strings using string length. So whenever you test for a string, you should probably have a condition where you check for empty string. So the additional information displays like to test for empty strings, check if the string length is equal to 0. So this is normal programming practice that you should follow while development. So FxCop, it catches almost everything pertaining to critical errors and warnings. Even though this is a warning, this is one point which every developer needs to know. So it also states the location where it's available. So replace these with checks for some string dot length equal to 0. So when you modify that and you run the DLL, this won't be visible. And you have do not cast unnecessarily. We already saw that. And assemblies should have valid strong names. So either the assembly has no valid strong name or invalid one. Strong name is valid only because of computer configuration. So if they've given the assembly's contents were modified after it was signed, so they've given the cause of this violation. So it can be any one of the four causes. Once you fix this, you can eliminate this violation. And identify should be case correctly. We already saw that. Consider passing base types as parameters. This is related to passing the base types of using base type as parameters to improve reuse of these methods. So it improves modularity of a program. So these kinds of errors are very useful for the programmers. So it just displays the location gives an example. Use stream instead of file. Stream as a parameter when only using stream.read. This makes the method works on all kinds of streams instead of file, just file streams. So this includes this actually improves the modularity of the program. So whenever you use file streams, it just limits the code to handling files. So if you use streams, you can just handle input, output files, whatever. So you can just so as you can see, you can just go through each and every rule. You can see the location. You can display. You can go to that particular path and correct the errors. However, if you don't want any exception, if you don't want any violation to be displayed, you can just right click that. For example, if you have if you don't, I mean, let's say if you don't want this, you can just mark it as exclude and mark it as absent. So if you just mark it as exclude, you can just add a note to it like not relevant. If you press OK, it will be excluded here, so it just categorizes here. So if you want your project to be very specific, you can just add this excluded, and you can also mark it as absent, and you can jump to source. You can have properties for each property. It displays the basic message details, rule support, notes. So if you click on properties, you'll have notes, which was basically written by me. So these are the violations that you can possibly raise for your projects. And in FxCop, you also have the option of adding custom rules to your project. So custom rules is apart from these rules, you can also add new rules to your project. So so basically, in order to create a rule, you have the Visual Studio. You have to create an XML file. So the XML file displays the description of the rule. So in our case, what we did was we created a rule to state that the method was too long. So whenever a method size it goes beyond a particular limit, we'll just display this violation. So we have the name, description. So whatever we saw on that rule details tab. So these information should be coded using this XML file. So we have the description part, we have the owner, we have the URL, resolution, we have the certainty level where you can change the certainty, we can change the warning, we can just mark it as breaking or non-breaking, and you have to embed this XML file in the code. So where we actually have to check the code for the possible violation. So what we're doing is we are checking the instruction count and seeing if it's greater than 5. So if the number of lines in a particular method is greater than 5, it just throws this error. So we have adding the problem of this resolution. So if you run this code, it will generate a DLL file. So once you generate the DLL file, you can move on to add libraries. So if you can select the library and you can display the rule. So once the rule is displayed, you can see it over here, and you can run the project from scratch, and you can display the rule which was newly created. In this screencast, we saw about the evaluation results of the Time Logger plugin as well as SharpEdit. Thank you for watching this video and have a great day.